Let's talk about how to buy houses if you have no money for marketing. This is a very important video, guys. Please watch it all the way through. So I know you guys are getting into the house buying business, or you're in the business right now, and you may have no money for marketing or little money that you don't want to take a risk. You may be equity rich with a bunch of houses you own, but cash poor. So I'm going to talk about a couple things here. I'm going to give you some ideas how to build a business with work ethic and time and belief and no money out of pocket. So I know you're on the internet looking at videos, going to seminars, going to home study courses, going to REI clubs, and everything everybody says to generate leads costs money. Direct mail costs money. Pay-per-click ads cost money. Bandit signs cost money. Everything costs money. And you're saying, I don't have any money, or I don't want to risk the money that I have, or I have to go on credit cards and to go into debt, which is actually what I did when I got into business. I did go do a bunch of expensive strategies like direct mail. And I did go do a bunch of strategies like pay-per-click, and it did not work because I did not know what I was doing. So I highly advise you guys, if you're jumping into the business, until you know what you're doing, don't go spend a bunch of money on strategies that could make you go bankrupt real quick, because there is skill sets behind these strategies. If you're not a great marketer, don't just go drop a bunch of money on something because someone else said to do this. That's not how it works. It can get you in trouble. So what I did was I did a bunch of I did a bunch of very expensive strategies as far as cost to do the marketing strategies, and it got me into debt. And that debt on my credit card started compounding across itself. And what I was able to do was use internet marketing and social media, which I have other videos talking about, but that's not what today's video is, and then door knocking. But I also built relationships with individuals in my local market for referral business, with local contractors, yard crews, all sorts of people in the business, plumbers, electricians, foundation companies, and simply said, hey, I'm going to work a deal with you. If you come across a house that the homeowner wants to sell, they don't have the money to pay you to do this. Will you let me buy the house, and I will give you the job? Essentially is kind of how I started out, but I want to really dig into a couple other strategies. Those are just a couple to think about here. But if you have no money for marketing, that doesn't mean you have no money to buy houses, because that's a big difference. It's actually harder to get disposable income, cash in your pocket, to spend on marketing and day-to-day business expenses than it is to raise private capital, or to go to a hard money lender, or go to a bank and get a bank loan. If you have a job and you're bank financeable, you can get a loan. You can do a typical burst strategy, right? If you have a joint venture partner, they'll fund the deal if you find the deal. So the difficult part is getting the deal on the front end. So obviously, easy way is if you have an MLS access. Now you're going to have to go through a bunch of deals right now, but going forward, there will be a lot of houses on MLS as soon as money dries up in the marketplace. So that's a very low expense strategy, is to buy houses off the MLS. And I have another video on my channel talking about how to do that, so go check that out. But what I want to talk about here today is somehow figure out how to get the financing, private money lenders, hard money lenders, joint venture partners, or whatever you have to do. But now what you're seeing is a ton of stimulus money flushing through the system. And once it flushes out of the system, and all these backstops and these forbearances on loans and all these businesses that are being held up afloat because of what we consider a fake economy right now, this is going to go to the wayside. So I know a lot of you guys think we're in a V-shaped recovery. That's great for now, but let's see what happens in a year from now or 2 years from now. And what if I am right? And what if you are wrong? What if everything collapses next year and we see a foreclosure boom? What is going to happen, right? So if there is a foreclosure boom, a bunch of houses are going to flood back into these local banks, really all banks. But think about local community banks and credit unions. So one of the things you guys can do right now is go on the internet, start getting a list of all the local banks, excuse me, all the local banks, the credit unions, the small banks, and start putting them into a list. And I would take the time to go down to each one of them and meet the number one person in control at those banks, the asset manager, the president, even the vice president. Figure out who are the big decision makers there over their portfolio that will, when the houses start coming back in, because it's going to be overwhelming for them. They're going to need help. And the people that are going to get rich going through this next correction are not going to do marketing. They're going to get an inbound phone call from someone saying, we got 20 properties that we want to dump. We have a huge commercial property. Can you take this? And you may actually have to take some junk properties off the plate to get some of the good ones. So you simply say, hey, look, I'll take some of the bad properties off the plate if you let me cherry pick some of the best ones, right? So start building the relationship now. What I would do is I go down and meet them in person, explain to them, hey, I think there's going to be a foreclosure boom. What is your take on this? Whether they believe it or not, start building the relationship. Say your name a number of times. Dress nice. Look them in the eye. Be professional, right? Tell them what you're going to do, and then set the expectation that you're going to follow up with them. Get their contact information and their email. And what I would do is every single month, I would send them a video email or some type of postcard, which is very inexpensive if you're not mailing a ton of houses, but just a couple individuals, and stay in close contact with them. Remind them that you're going to be there. Build that name recognition, because when the foreclosure boom kicks in, you will get a phone call from some of them, or you'll be at least invited to the party to go look at some of these properties first, because they know that you're one of the serious ones and that you said this is going to come. And when it's coming and now they need help, you're going to be the first person called. So I would be definitely building relationships with local banks and credit unions, and talking about what are you going to do with this huge inventory that's going to flood in, and I can help you and take a lot of stress and headache off your plate. Now, I know almost none of you guys are going to do this, even though this is going to create wealth for you and your family if you do it, but it's just something I want to put out here because I know a few of you will, and it's going to change your life. Now, another thing you can do, probate attorneys, divorce attorneys, bankruptcy attorneys, same thing. Create a list of all these, go down to their office, call them, set the expectation that this is going to happen and that you have the ability to help them and their clients get these problems solved immediately. The most successful business owners I know in this business don't market. They pick up phone calls from inbound leads saying, I have 7 houses for you. I have 3 houses for you. I have a 200-unit apartment complex. So just start thinking about that, guys. You do not need money. You need relationships. You need to be able to build a relationship with these individuals so that when this starts happening, you're front of mind. So once you start the relationship and temperatures raise, do not let the temperatures drop. Stay in contact with them. The best way is by sending video emails so they can see your face, hear the conviction in your voice, tell them that you're serious. And this is such a little effort, guys, that once you have the relationship built, it doesn't take a lot to maintain it. So this is something I'll be definitely focusing on right now. Finding yard crews, finding contractors, foundation companies, roofers, plumbers, build relationships with them, local community banks, the probate attorneys, bankruptcy attorneys, divorce attorneys. This is something that takes time and no money. And then once you get a couple deals, you can close these. You can either wholesale them, you can either use a private money lender or hard money lender or joint venture partner to close on them and flip them, or even keep them. Once you start bringing in cash, now you have money to spend on your business. Now you can start investing in some of these automated strategies that can generate more deals. But if you don't have any money, you're limited on what you can do. Now you can obviously just go out there and door knock. That's really kind of how I got my business off the ground. I actually remember, you guys think I just was always on top like this. It wasn't that case. It wasn't that always this way. I actually would door knock neighborhoods in 100-degree Texas weather. And I was so broke when I started my business that I literally had to print off just a typical white piece of paper like you would use for printer paper, a little paragraph that I wrote that could put 4 paragraphs on one piece of paper, basically saying what I do and buy houses. And I'd chop them into these little strips and I'd walk the neighborhoods in this Texas heat. And because one guy told me, you just need an apple and a bottle of water. That was a strategy. Bottle of water and an apple. So meaning grab 1 bottle of water, walk a neighborhood, eat the apple, drink the bottle of water, come back and put flyers out or little door knockers. Now, what he forgot to tell me was you need a case of water, like 20 apples, 5 tubes of sunscreen, because you're going to pass out in someone's yard like I did, because I actually blacked out one day because I cared that much about my business that I was willing to literally die for it, that I actually had to literally found myself waking up in someone's yard one day because I got so hot and I was so dehydrated and I was so far from where I was at. And I put so much energy out that I actually collapsed in someone's front yard. And I woke up and I was like, what's going on? So just think about how bad you want it, because it's out there. But I was actually able to get deals doing this, not just door knocking, but just putting little strips on the houses. So there's lots of things you can do, but you have to believe it can be done. And there's plenty of people that if you find a good deal and you get it under contract, under option contract, will help you close a deal, finance a deal, or you can wholesale that deal to them, depending on what strategy you do. But just start thinking about some of the things I said, guys. I hope this helps. Stay positive. There's going to be a huge opportunity next year in the coming years. And if you guys don't think I'm right about this big foreclosure boom, wait till next year. Remember this video or some of the other videos I put out. And if I'm wrong, come on the internet, blast me and tell me you're right. And I'll say, okay, you're right. But if I am right, you guys are needing to prepare for this massive opportunity going forward, because there's going to be an explosion and these banks cannot handle it. And that's how you're going to buy your best properties. I hope you liked the video today on how to buy houses with little or no money for marketing, guys. I'll see you on the next one.